Okay, May 6th, 2024, morning. Yeah, morning. Kind of overcast. I like these days. Um, I was talking intellectual property, which is most of what I talk. Um, so we've got the tic-tac-toe game, and so the liaison layer creates metacode, broadcasts out this metacode internally, endo, to the body that is this instance of tic-tac-toe game. And the agents that are part of the group receive it and either say, don't care, has nothing to do with me, or goes, ooh, 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 I know, throws their hand up, sends a semaphore or something, goes, oh, I know this one. You see what I just said? Ooh, I know this one. If we can get a bit of computing to have that attitude and bearing, wow. Just wow. Just think about it. So the liaison layer, the primary, the keystone agent for this instance of this tic-tac-toe game receives responses. I keep thinking in terms of the DHCP protocol, if you're familiar with that. But sure it listens, whether it's polling or callback. I don't know. Polling's pretty powerful using like message queues. So yeah, there's many ways you could do that. You could have a port that the other agents call back to and say, I know this one here. Here's the data packet that you requested, basically, or I think you requested. Um, or it can go like use a file system, IPFS again, and write like kind of like a suggestion box, right? The keystone agent is like say, okay, open for suggestions. Please submit to the suggestion box, and say three or more of them, three or four. Go, oh, I know this one, then sends a message to the suggestion box. And then the keystone agent would poll that, would just check it period. Because if things ain't happen, we don't have to worry about, oh, he's polling way too much. It should have been a callback function. We should have used a webhook. I don't think with this, we need to, at least first pass version 1.0. But it should suffice for the keystone agent to read some file, folder, directory, whatever you want to call it, storage point, locale, and read it and parse it. But now it's parsing it in metacode. So I'm not sure what kind of parsing engines those will have to be. Because if we can, we want our AI to evolve it, come up with it on its own. We don't want to tell it how to do its business. As much as we can, we want to leave it open to for it to figure out how to best do its business, whatever that may be. So likely there'll be a message queue, a Dropbox, so three or four or so say, oh, I know this one is players two turn. And just for giggles, let's throw in maybe somebody will say it's player one. A bit of cognitive dissonance there. So then the Keystone agent reads those in and builds a list, weights them and prioritizes them somehow, and picks one. RNG picks one. and that's the response. Now, it is conceivable it might pick player one when the right answer is player two and return that to the human player. Now, correction on that would be a matter of cybernetics feedback. So we'll leave that for the cybernetic feedback team. Um, but most likely, and increasingly, that's the weighted experience. Uh, more and more as things happen, more and more they'll gravitas. Is that what gravitas is? They will gravitate towards something, some kind of equilibrium. Um, and in this case, once we embedded in there a level of confidence. So again, we're talking knowledge. Um, so we got three agents said it's player two, and the Keystone agent's looking at him going, who's I want to sort on who's most confident, and each one of these has different levels of confidence because they have different levels of experience. Now, zero knowledge wise, we could just let that agent modify its confidence factor or attribute, zero knowledge, but in a chaos engine sort of theory, could work. That could work because all things count in large amounts. But ideally, you always want to get, if you're going to have an AI, if you're going to have anywhere aspire to be even close to a self-learning machine, you're going to have that cybernetic feedback loop. It's axiomatic. Oh my gosh, doggy treats are just falling out of the sky. No, no, you're not buying it. Oh, okay. Um, so so the Keystone agent has picked one and returns it, and the human gets a response saying player two. That's my story. I'm sticking to it unless you want to give me feedback and correct me. And that's, well, yeah, the cybernetic feedback mechanisms are a whole nother thing. And again, whenever possible, we need to include them, but we need to make it so that it's not a deadly embrace if you don't have it. Oh, have you ever programmed and ran into a deadly embrace? Mhm. Run into more than I care to, but they teach you a lot. It's a really learning experience because it becomes painful and you just don't want to. You learn ways just not to get into the situation in the first place. And that's the senior part of my senior systems developer. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. And we're using this as a how to implement a use case, a very simplistic use case, so that it can become a case study from which we can leverage other projects off of. So we have these NFTs that are basically your software licenses, get you into the Web3 environment, and you've left the 20th century behind, and you want to play a tic-tac-toe game. Yeah, certainly there would have to be a presentation layer implemented, but one can think of that like a browser. It even could be a browser, but it doesn't have to be a browser. We can. I was about the time that HTML came out. I was working on a very similar scripting language for my own purposes. I was getting quite a ways along the line too. But see, those are the kind of things they task you with, like as first semester projects in upperclassmen computer science courses and stuff. I remember one class had us, our semester project was to create a like a zip utility compression program. But well, my newbie programmers, I'm going to task them with making a tic-tac-toe game. So actually, this may be a training video. I got to bounce.